this video, we're going to look at how we can solve some two-step inequalities. So we're going to be using some of the different rules that we've made videos on previous to this video on how to use the addition and subtraction properties of inequality, as well as the multiplication and division properties of inequality. So the biggest thing to remember when you're solving inequalities, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality symbol must be flipped or reversed. So if you have less than, it needs to be greater than. If you have greater than, it needs to be less than. If you have less than or equal to, it needs to be greater than or equal to. And if you have greater than or equal to, you guessed it, it needs to be less than or equal to. So let's jump in and do 5 examples. Number 1, 6x minus 10 is greater than 26. First thing we want to undo is the addition or subtraction. So in this case, we have minus 10. So let's add 10 to both sides. That's going to give us 6x is greater than 36. Now we can divide both sides by 6 to get x is greater than 6. So we divided by a positive number there, so no need to switch the inequality symbol. Our final answer will just be x is greater than 6. Number 2, x divided by negative 4 plus 9 is greater than 13. Let's undo the addition first, so subtract 9. So x divided by negative 4 is greater than positive 4. Now, let's undo the division by multiplying by negative 4. That's going to cancel the negative 4s. We get x is, now we got to switch. So greater than becomes less than, and 4 times negative 4 would be negative 16. So we multiplied by a negative there, so that's why we got to switch that inequality symbol, okay? All right, number 3, 4 minus 5x is greater than or equal to 29. So this 4 right here, notice that we don't see a negative in front of it, which means it's positive. Obviously, we don't see a plus sign either, but since it does not have a negative sign there, we assume that it's positive, so we have to undo that by subtracting 4. So that gets rid of that. We get negative 5x is greater than or equal to 25. Now we have multiplication that we need to undo. So let's divide both sides by negative 5. We get x is, we divided by a negative, so we got to switch that inequality symbol. So this becomes less than or equal, and this would be negative 5. Okay, for the last 2 examples, you'll notice that we have some parentheses involved. So we might need to do some distributive property for these examples, okay? So there's actually 2 ways that we could solve these, and we'll do number 5 one way, we'll do number 4 one way, we'll do number 5 the other way. So we could distribute, or since distribution is basically multiplication, we could go ahead and divide first. So I'll show you both ways. That way you know how to do it for your work, whatever your teacher wants you to do in your class. So here we're going to distribute the 2. So we get 2x minus 10 is greater than 6. Now I'm going to add 10 to both sides. So we get 2x is greater than 16. Now let's divide by 2, and we end up with x is less than, I think I might have said greater than earlier, less than 8. Okay, so that would be our answer for number 4. X is less than 8. All right, so for number 5, I said there is an alternative way that we could do this. So since this is negative 4 times x minus 10, we could actually start off by just dividing by negative 4. So that's going to get rid of that, and now we would have x minus 10 is greater than negative 8. Okay, notice I switched my inequality symbol there because we did divide by a negative. Now let's add 10 to both sides, and we get x is greater than 2. Okay, so let's take number 5 and let's do it the way we did number 4. So let's distribute actually. So negative 4x plus 40 is less than 32, right? So this is us distributing now. So now what would we do? Well, we would subtract 40. So we get negative 4x is less than negative 8. We would divide both sides by negative 4. This would be x. Notice we would switch our inequality symbol. We would go from less than to greater than, and negative 8 divided by negative 4 would be 2. So notice how we got the same answer, right? So either way is fine. You could distribute and then undo the addition or subtraction, then undo the multiplication. Or you could go ahead and divide first. Either way is fine, and that is how you can solve some two-step inequalities.